Good afternoon, colleagues. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, I would like to begin by thanking you, the Chief Secretary, my colleagues in the House, and the people of Tobago for giving me this opportunity to address you for my maiden contribution on such an important and relevant issue. In any discussion on most fundamental issues, history and context are of paramount importance. It is in that regard that I will attempt to bring some history and context to this matter at hand as we go through our discourse. Trinidad and Tobago recorded its first case of COVID-19 on Thursday, 12th of March, 2020. One of the first steps taken by the then administration was to close school for 1 week. And subsequently, that closure continued indefinitely. Children were at home, teachers were at home, no clear direction on what should happen. Teachers were interacting with students on a voluntary basis. Some teachers were sending work on WhatsApp for those students they could reach. Many teachers felt helpless. The pandemic was here, and we were caught literally with our pants down. No preparation, nothing in place. It was as though we were making it up as we go along. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, in September 2020, voluntary interaction with students became mandatory online interaction. Guidelines for online interaction were sent by the Ministry of Education, tutor claiming that they were not consulted. That battle between the ministry and tutor continues even today. No one knows exactly what to do in terms of how it has affected the terms and conditions of employment, not only of teachers, but of many other employees. But I can say that as it relates to teachers, what is being proposed, that there must be negotiations between the CPO and the recognized majority union in order for such a policy to exist. Our system is still mainly based on face-to-face interaction. In September 2021, Mr. Deputy Speaker, Deputy Presiding Officer, we shifted from full online to vaccinated 5th and 6th form students. With pushback from parent groups such as the MPTA and groups of concerned parents and other groups, all students were allowed to go to school. Presently, we have all lower school and standard 5 attending. And the focus is to have all students out from standard 4 to infants for the new term. There's also talk about a blended system, but the views differ on how it affects terms and conditions of employment of teachers, and as was mentioned before, the need for negotiations. Before COVID-19, working was going to a physical place for a specific time and remaining there until such time as you finish work. As the pandemic got worse with more hospitalizations, deaths, the government across the world began implementing lockdowns, followed by states of emergency. These measures had disastrous consequences on our economy and how people work. Because people had to stay at home, many businesses were closed and massive job loss ensued. Because we couldn't go to work, in some instances, persons had to remain in the confines of their homes for weeks on end. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, it affected how we socialize, the way we lime, as we say in local plans. It affected physical activity and sport. It affected all events and activities that we are used to. Graduations, weddings, funerals, anniversaries, birthdays. We just got up one day and a whole new existence we had to get used to. So we had to change how we do things. Essentially, we had to change how we live. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, on September 12, 2020, the Public Health Ordinance, Chapter 12, Number 4, regulations made by the Minister under Section 105 and confirmed by the President under Section 167 of the Public Health Ordinance, spoke to non-essential workers staying at home until such time as indicated. At that time, given the previous administration a little over 1 year to do what this motion is asking us to do now, but I understand why it is being brought now. This new THA executive has a knack for doing things in 2 months, which the previous administration could not do in 21 years. So I understand why the minority leader felt that this was the best time to bring the motion. Our mantra, let me fix this, and we surely will fix this. So that one may ask why the need for urgency now in this matter. We have recognized that the economy is opening up. Slowly we are trying to move towards a sense of normalcy. So why? As bad as COVID-19 has been for the world, with the sickness, the hospitalizations, the death, the loss of jobs, loss of business, the terrible strain on the healthcare and its related effects, the effects on the economy, it has prevented us with an opportunity. When the pandemic hit us, we were forced to change the way we do things, how we work, how we socialize, how we do everything, our way of life. This pandemic has forced us to accelerate the use of technology in every single area. Education, business, meetings, workshops, seminars, and even the way we socialize. Sports, culture. Technology has been incorporated in every facet of our lives forever. There is no going back. The world has changed forever. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this administration has from the inception given its commitment to the digitization of Tobago, to moving Tobago to a paperless society. Within 2 months of assuming office, this administration is set to launch the Smart App within the Division of Infrastructure, Quarries and Urban Development, with many more initiatives such as this across divisions. This is testimony to the commitment of this administration to moving Tobago into that technological era. And as we say, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. This is also evident in the realignment of our divisions. In particular, the Division of Education, Research and Technology, where greater emphasis will be placed on the development and the application of technology in the Tobago space. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, there was a time in Tobago where schools were almost afraid for children to use the technology. The use of cell phones were banned in schools. There was no internet access on the school compounds. We have already begun to address those issues, but we have embraced the use of technology across our education system, and we are embracing the use of technology across our divisions in the THE. If you look at the contrast of what is happening now. We have preschool children online, and they can even demonstrate to their parents the use of technology. The world has become a global village, and if you are not on board, you will get left behind. We certainly don't want to get left behind in Tobago. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, the development of a remote workforce management policy is critical to the digitization process. This administration has no choice, based on our plans for the development of Tobago, to develop such a policy, and therefore this motion was not necessary. After a year of doing nothing in this regard, I fail to see how it has become high priority on the to-do list of the previous administration. We are committed to fixing Tobago for Tobagonians, and that we will do. We are aware that many administrators within the divisions would have adopted various strategies to mitigate against the impact of COVID, such as shift systems and rotations. But we have the firm view that a policy document is needed. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, in the absence of such a policy, the chaos which resulted from a lack of policy direction from the government will continue to take place. Industrial relations between employer and employee will continue to be poor. There must be clear guidelines for non-essential employees to make their contribution while minimizing the risk to their safety. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, this policy must also ensure maximum productivity from those persons who may fall under such category. It must be flexible. It must cater to those common circumstances that may arise and how they should be treated. This policy must be a THA-wide policy which must be spread across all divisions. It must be standardized, clear, and relevant to specific situations that may arise from time to time. We are of the view that a remote workforce policy is absolutely critical to the transformation of this island. As was said by my Chief Secretary on so many occasions, Tobago has the potential to be the greatest little island on the planet. And therefore, in order for us to accomplish that, we must embrace digitization and technology. I thank you. Mr. Deputy Presiding Officer, in accordance with Standing Order 41, I beg to move that the motion be amended by inserting these words: and whereas the immediate past Executive Council of the Tobago House of Assembly neglected its responsibility to design and implement a formal remote workforce management policy. Those words to be there inserted or added after the second and whereas paragraph. And by inserting supports at the first be it resolved, that is, this House supports. And by inserting or adding those words, be it further resolved that this House supports all efforts of the Executive Council to digitize and modernize the operations of the Tobago House of Assembly. Those words, they're to be inserted or added at the be it resolved paragraph.
Is there a seconder for this motion?